Shana Tova Tikatevu V'Techatemu. May this be a year where we are all inscribed and sealed in the book of life for health, for happiness, and for peace. I want to welcome everybody warmly to our congregation. We'll be spending a lot of time together tonight and tomorrow, and I hope that you will feel at home here at University Synagogue. We'd like to invite you to turn, friends, to page 9 as we have our candle lighting this evening, led by Julia Weinstein.
Yes, Shana Tova. Come on over.
Baruch atah Adonai notea betochenu chayei olam.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you. This is a challenge. And I like these, right? You can read responsively, please. The human spirit is the lamp of God, searching out what lies within us. Guided by the flame of conscience, on this sacred night, we search for truth. Shine your light upon us as we strive to serve you. May we find safety in your faithful love. We light the flame of healing and forgiveness. On this atonement night, we give thanks for love. Oops.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu להדליק נר של יום הכיפורים. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם
Words not found in your prayer book. Kol Nidre has arrived both to ask for and to receive forgiveness. So at this sacred moment, let me ask for yours and let me give you mine. If there is anyone present in the temple at this moment whom I have hurt, consciously or unconsciously, if there is anyone here whose pain I did not notice, whose sorrow I did not respond to, whose quest I did not share, or whose need I was not aware of, will you please forgive me? And in return, if there is anyone here at this moment who has judged me casually or carelessly or callously, if there is anyone here who ignored my needs or did not share my dreams or hear my challenge, I hereby forgive you. May we with whole hearts forgive the wrongs of others and apologize for the wrongs we have done, for only in this way can we find our path to peace. Let us turn, friends, to page 14. Let us rise. Yom Kippur, the Jewish people's festival of the soul, and Kol Nidre, its sacred portal, a night of deep emotions, a night, as the psalmist wrote, to rejoice with trembling. We rejoice at the sound of Kol Nidre, rhythmic words of release from vows, oaths, and promises to God we fail to keep. We tremble at the melody, music of spiritual amazement. It fills us with awe as we stand before God and Torah.
We rejoice that we stand together, strengthened by community in this hour of shared weakness and humility. We tremble, for tonight we confess our flaws, admit our imperfection, and acknowledge a power far beyond our understanding. We rejoice that we commit ourselves to great endeavors because we feel so deeply and think so nobly.
We tremble, for we find that our ideals are far greater than our ability. Our promises surpass our might. We rejoice in the freedom that is Kol Nidre's true gift, the freedom to begin a new year without fear of failure, to aspire to be God's image in the world. We tremble because we are mortal. We rejoice in our gratitude for life.
We
rejoice with trembling and enter Kol Nidre to face our humanity.
We thank Dennis Karmazin and Susan Rosenstein for their beautiful rendition of the Brook Kol Nidre. My privilege to invite the past presidents of our congregation forward to hold our Torah scrolls as we prepare for Kol Nidre on page 16. And as we open the Holy Ark, we invite all who are able to please rise. Light is sown for the righteous, radiance and joy for the pure of heart. With one voice, assembled sages past and present declare, all may pray as one on this night of repentance. Let none be excluded from our community of prayer. Together, friends, with one voice, God and congregation proclaim, all may pray as one on this day of return. Let all find a place in the sacred assembly. Page 18. All shall be forgiven, the entire community of Israel and the stranger who lives in their midst, for all have gone astray in error. Moses prayed to God, as you have been faithful to this people ever since Egypt, please forgive their failings now, in keeping with your boundless love. And God responded, I forgive as you have asked. Please remain standing for our formal call to prayer. Baruch Hu, page 22. You may be seated. Thank you all. We continue at the top of page 24. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, bechokma poteach sha'arim, uvitvuna meshane itim, ומחליף את הזמנים, ומסדר את הכוכבים במשמרותיהם ברקיע כרצונו. בורא יום ולילה, גולל אור מפני חושך, וחושך מפני אור, ומעביר יום ומביא לילה, ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה, אדוני צבאות שמו. אל חי וקיים, Tamid yimloch aleinu le'olam va'ed, Baruch ata Adonai, hama'ariv aravim. We invite forward to offer an expression of their involvement in our synagogue, Steve and Hannah Goldsobel.
Shana Tova.
I'm Steve Goldsobel.
And I'm Hannah Goldsobel. I've always had a passion for social action. The Tikkun Olam Committee has provided many opportunities to pursue what I love, making other people's lives better. Whether it is braiding challah for those with newly found homes after being homeless, or going to OPCC and teaching the residents how to cook a great dinner with ingredients that cost only $5, University Synagogue and the Tikkun Olam Committee have provided many opportunities to help prepare the world. This year, we are committed to the importance of voting, ensuring that 100% of our community is registered to and does in fact vote, and you will see that effort at a number of upcoming events, including tomorrow. I look forward to continuing to participate on the Tikkun Olam Committee and collaborating with other members looking to make a difference.
Before joining University Synagogue, I never heard of Tikkun Olam. I grew up with the familiar and ever-present tzedakah box and knew that those collections would be put to doing good. However, I did not know what those efforts were, and my participation was complete after making my donation. While I'm still a fan of the tzedakah box, it was not until joining University Synagogue that I heard of Tikkun Olam and a committee expressly devoted to ensuring that our synagogue, both inside and outside the walls of our temple, helps repair the world. My reaction, count me in, and let me know what I can do. And that was 3 years ago. Since then, as part of the Tikkun Olam Committee, I helped search for a community partner to address homelessness. After much work and interviews, we formed a special partnership with St. Joseph Center, an organization that not only arranges for housing for the homeless, but affords over 10,000 men, women, and children the life skills and necessities they need to succeed, whether it's daycare while parents work, learning to be a computer coder, or to be a professional chef. St. Joseph is now a part of our community. They are part of our High Holy Day food drive. We collect egg cartons, we supply fruit and vegetables for their food pantry, and we braid challah. I could go on. This committee has given me the opportunity to make a difference, and I am forever grateful. I have met members of our synagogue that I wouldn't have had an opportunity to meet otherwise. Today, I now have the honor of serving as your Vice President of Tikkun Olam, and it is with the hope and expectation that you will join us in reaching out to our extended community and helping to repair our world.
Shana Tova.
Shana Tova.
It's my honor to call upon all our Golden Kippah recipients. I'm going to ask you to go out through the lobby, and Becca Greenberg is going to meet you there, and she's going to show you the secret way to come up to the bima. And in just a few moments, the Golden Kippah recipients are going to help us lead a prayer. But for now, we're going to turn to page 26 for Ahavat Olam.
Israel.
rise for the watchword of our faith, page 28.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
You may be seated. Our student rabbi, Joanne Leubman, is about to lead us, but 8 months from now she's going to be ordained. Did you count that out before? No, see? 8 months. Right now, we're very delighted that she has returned to us. She teaches in our religious school. She'll be leading the youth services in the morning along with our Director of Education, Jesse Shamut, and our Director of Early Childhood, April Schaefer. She went to St. Louis University. She studied at the Pardes Institute. She taught at Atlanta's Davis School, a Reformed Jewish day school in the Atlanta area. And we're just delighted that she is here with us. She's going to lead the service now following the work of our Golden Kippah recipients, who are going to come up here close to the microphones and lead us in Ve'ahavta. Friends, we're on page 30. 1, 2, 3.
We continue on page 41. For every exile who walked out of Egypt between walls of water, for everyone who remembered the feel of sea bottom underfoot, the sibilant roar of water rearing on the right, on the left, someone forgot. Someone scanning the dry horizon for a well, or already mourning the musky smell of autumn in her father's fig trees, forgot the hosannas, and by the bitter waves of Mara, forgot the flash of dancing feet, the shimmer of timbrels. For every proselyte at Sinai, someone never heard of horns at all. Someone turned back from the mountain to bank the fire, feed the baby, steal a secret moment with another. Please join me. Revelation begins in attention, while the elders trembled before the word of God flowing down the scorched north flank of Sinai. Someone, rising from a last long embrace, gazed into the rapt face of the beloved and saw that it was good. We continue with Mi Chamocha on page 40. page 42. We continue with the Amidah on page 46. Please rise. 48.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avoteinu ve'imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah Ha'el HaGadol HaGibor VeHaNorah Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim Vekonei HaKol Mezocher Chasdei Avot V'imahot ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם למען שמו ויעבוד.
Page 50. Page 51. Fall, falling, fallen. That's the way the season changes its tense in the long-haired maples that dot the road. The veiny, hand-shaped leaves redden on their branches in a fiery competition with the final remaining cardinals, and then begin to sidle and float through the air at last, settling into colorful layers carpeting the ground. At twilight, the light, too, is layered in the trees. In a season of odd, dusky congruences, a scarlet tanager and the odor of burning leaves, a golden retriever lopping down the center of a wide street, and the sun settling behind smoke-filled trees in the distance, a gap opening up in the treetops in a bruised cloud, blamelessly filling the space with purples. Everything changes and moves in the split second between summers, sprawling, and winters, hard revision. One moment, pulling out of the station according to schedule. Another moment, arriving on the next platform. It happens almost like clockwork. The leaves drift away from their branches and gather slowly at our feet, sliding over our ankles, and the season begins moving around us, even as its colorful weather moves us, even as it pulls us into its dusky twilight pockets. Please join me. And every year, there is a brief, startling moment when we pause in the middle of a long walk home and suddenly feel something invisible and weightless touching our shoulders, sweeping down from the air. It is the autumn wind pressing against our bodies. It is the changing light of fall falling on us. Baruch atah Adonai, mechayeh hakol. Please be seated. We continue with silent meditation on page 52.
Because God's holiness is dependent on human beings who extend the reach of the divine into dark corners of the world by embracing awe, showing honor, and acting with righteousness. Page 54.
And so in your holiness, and so in your holiness,
page 58. You and you alone, Adonai, will reign over creation upon Mount Zion, home of your presence, and in Jerusalem, a city set apart by you. As the psalmist believed, Adonai will reign eternally, your God, Zion, for all generations. Hallelujah. You are holy, your name is awe. There is nothing divine beyond you, as the prophet Isaiah taught. The source of all might is exalted through justice, the God of holiness made holy through righteousness. Blessed are you, Adonai, holy sovereign. We turn, friends, to 64.
זכרנו אדוני אלוהינו בו לטובה
Amen.
ופוקדנו בו לברכה
Amen.
והושיענו בו לחיים
Amen. Favor us with words of deliverance and mercy. Show us the depth of your care. God, we await your redemption, for you reign with grace and compassion. Page 66. Our God and God of our forebears, pardon our failings on this day of atonement. Erase our misdeeds, see beyond our defiance. For Isaiah said in your name, it is I alone who wipe away your defiant acts. This is my essence. I shall pay no heed to your errors. And the prophet said, as a cloud fades away, as mist dissolves into air, so your wrongs and mistakes shall be gone. I will wipe them away. Come back to me that I may redeem you. And as you said to Moses, for on this day atonement shall be made for you, to purify you from all your wrongs, and pure you shall be in the presence of Adonai. Page 68, join me please in the middle of the page. God who is ours, and God of our fathers and mothers, lead us to holiness through your mitzvot. May each of us find a portion of Torah that is ours. You bestow such goodness. Teach us to be satisfied and to know the joy of your salvation. Page 70.
Baruch atah Adonai melech al kol haaretz mekadesh Yisrael v'yom hazikaron.
Page 74.
מודים אנחנו לך, שאתה הוא אדוני אלוהינו, ואלוהי אבותינו, ואימותינו לעולם ועד. מודים אנחנו לך, צור חיינו, מגן אישנו, אתה הוא לדור ודור.
For the sun that rises in the east, for the seas that roar a prayer, for the stillness of a snowfall, for the breath of autumn air, for the grasp within my fingers, for a mind that makes me whole,
For the voice that God has given me,
For the ones we call beloved would take away our fear.
They tell us without saying it, remember I am here.
Remember I am here.
Page 76. And for all these gifts, God of majesty, may your name come to be blessed and praised, our gratitude a daily offering until the end of time. Inscribe your covenant partners for a life of goodness. Together, friends, and may all life resound with gratitude and faith in praise of your name. God, you free us and strengthen us. Blessed are you, Adonai, whose goodness deserves thanks and praise. Page 78.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tazim Leolam. Ki ata hu melech Adon lechol ha-shalom. Ki ata hu melech Adon lechol ha-shalom. בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. בספר חיים ברכה ושלום. ברכה ושלום ופרנסה טובה. ברכה ושלום ניזכר וניכתב לפניך. אנחנו וכל עמך
We continue in our own moments of silent prayer, page 80 and 81. Page 82, we enter into the unique prayers of this Yom Kippur with the section called Vidui, the Confession. Page 82. Invite all who are able to please rise. seated. Page 86, please respond in the English. Al chet shachatanu lefanecha bezadonu vishkaka, ve'al chet shachatanu lefanecha bedibur peh. Al chet shachatanu lefanecha beimutz halev, ve'al chet shachatanu lefanecha betafshut peh. Al chet shachatanu lefanecha bechachash uvechazav, ve'al chet shachatanu lefanecha birchilut. Let's continue together. The ways we have wronged you by judging others unfairly, and harm we have caused in your world through disrespect to parents and teachers. The ways we have wronged you through insincere apologies, and harm we have caused in your world by mistreating a friend or neighbor. The ways we have wronged you through violence and abuse, and harm we have caused in your world through dishonesty in business. God of forgiveness, forgive us, pardon us, lead us to atonement. On 88. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha bagalui vasater, val chet shechatanu lefanecha b'frikat ol. The ways we have wronged you openly and secretly, and harm we have caused in your world by losing self-control. The ways we have wronged you through sexual immorality, and harm we have caused in your world through consumption of food and drink. The ways we have wronged you by giving in to our hostile impulses, and harm we have caused in your world through greed and exploitation. The ways we have wronged you through cynicism and scorn, and harm we have caused in your world through arrogant behavior. On 90, the ways we have wronged you by hating without cause, and harm we have caused in your world through offensive speech. The ways we have wronged you with a slanderous tongue, and harm we have caused in your world through a selfish or petty spirit. For all these failures of judgment and will, God of forgiveness, forgive us, pardon us, lead us to atonement. .97 at the bottom. The Ya'aleh prayer traces the spiritual arc of Yom Kippur from dusk to dawn and then again to twilight. Its acrostic flows from the end of the alphabet to the beginning, like a river of light flowing toward its origin, Aleph, the one God who unifies all creation.
page 98.
We continue on the bottom of page 100. Adonai, Adonai, God, compassionate, gracious, endlessly patient, loving, and true, showing mercy to the 1,000th generation, forgiving evil, defiance, and wrongdoing, granting pardon. Page 101. We continue on page 106.
We invite you to name those who are ill among your family or friends. Might be someone here in this room. It might be someone watching from our live stream in a hospital or nursing home. It may be a friend, it may be a family member. But as we name those individuals, we gain strength as a community as we pray for the welfare of all within the touch of each one of us. We hold all their names and the names that remain within us as we turn to our Misha Berach prayer for healing.
את החולים
turn to Avinu Malkeinu on page 112. Avinu Malkeinu ha'er lanu et derech chayenu. Avinu Malkeinu, illumine for us the path of our life. Avinu Malkeinu, how shall we find the strength to take the road less traveled by? Avinu Malkeinu, how shall we come to know the purpose of our existence? Avinu Malkeinu, how shall we learn not to live life in vain? Avinu Malkeinu, how shall we get out of our indifference? Avinu Malkeinu, how shall we distinguish between truth and falsehood? Avinu Malkeinu, how shall we find the answers to our questions? Avinu Malkeinu, how shall we gird ourselves with strength to seek answers? Please. Page 114.
Avinu Malkeinu, Shema Koleinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Atanu lefanecha. Avinu Malkeinu, Amol Aleinu, Me'al Aleinu, V'ta'aminu.
Avinu Malkeinu,
How many of us became frightened by news of the Skirball fire? And how many of us were prepared to evacuate or did evacuate because of the fire last fall? Let me see a show of hands. How many of us had friends or family affected by the Thomas fire in Ojai and Santa Barbara? Or the fires that were in Anaheim Hills, or Santa Clarita, Burbank, or Idlewild, Shasta, Yosemite, or Clear Lake? The Santa Rosa fire destroyed lives and homes and neighborhoods, and our beloved Camp Newman, which fortunately is temporarily relocated to Cal State Maritime in Vallejo. The fires burnt houses, charred wilderness areas, upended lives, created havoc. Locally, we saw the soot, and we felt and tasted the ash, which darkened our skies, watered our eyes, and caused breathing issues. Many of us left our homes, called relatives. Others prepared belongings in case of evacuation, forced to choose what was most important to us that would fit just in the trunk. And none of us was left without stress or anxiety. How fortunate we were that in our area, the vast majority of homes, condos, apartments were left unharmed. Some of our fellow congregants were upended for months. Our first responders have truly been amazing. Joel Kareth and I knew what our holy obligation was. We were at temple at the break of dawn to perform the sad mitzvah of evacuating the Torah scrolls. That snapshot will always be on my mind. We hugged the scrolls, parceled them out, and departed. Have Torah, will travel. That moment echoed our people's history of exile and persecution as we left burning synagogues with only our most precious possession. Guarding the Torah scrolls had great spiritual power, reminding me that our people has survived great challenges over the centuries. And yet, none of us were in control of these events. Everything was beyond us. Who indeed by fire? It's not only fire that has been beyond our control this year. Hurricane Harvey hit Houston with flooding in its wake. Hurricane Irma destroyed Barbuda, while a week later Hurricane Maria sent a path of destruction through Dominica and Puerto Rico. Hawaii and Guatemala were besieged by volcanoes, and we need not turn on the news to hear what's going on with Hurricane Florence and the resulting flooding. Hawaiians were stunned in January to receive an emergency cell phone alert warning them that a ballistic missile was heading toward the islands. After 38 minutes of fear, the Hawaii Emergency Management Agency sent out another mass alert informing people that their lives were not in danger, that it was merely human error. Anxiety and not knowing what to do caused a lot of fear and anger. The Hawaii incident called up those old residual feelings of absolute devastation, of a fatalistic reflex that says, this is not survivable, so why am I even bothering to think about it? But we Jews, we do think about disaster. What's a famous Jewish telegram? Start worrying. Details to follow. We have anxieties, and our history has told us to prepare for the worst while we hope for the best. And that's why every Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, we hear a prayer never said the other 363 days of the year, Unatana Tokef. It comes to us from the 6th or 7th century, written by two great poets, Yanai and Kalir, and was popularized during the 11th century Crusades. Why did it become so well-liked that it has lasted for over 1,300 years? The Middle Ages were a time when things were beyond the control of the Jewish community, a pre-modern world where death and destruction were all around. Who shall live and who shall die? Who by fire and who by water? We have been offering these words as a human response to the random catastrophes beyond our control, the misfortunes and difficulties we experience or read about, which occur on a daily basis. We want to be in control of our lives, of our destiny. We want to be the ones in charge. We want to bark the orders. We want to set the pace. We want to steer life's ship and be assured of our daily routine. We want to make sure the crease is in the right place, the lines in the carpet match just so, the picture frame is not crooked on the wall. But we don't determine the judge's verdict or tell the radiologist what to find or know the outcome of the game or exactly how the Dow Jones is going to do. Sometimes that frays our sense of security. Whether it's a burst pipe in the yard or a devastating earthquake which shakes the ground beneath our feet, this is a day to recognize we are not in control. No matter what our mood or our feelings, no matter what the music or the state of the world, whether the issue is our family, our friends, current politics, or our portfolio, a sense of nervousness and anxiety is right there. When we listen to the music of the Unetana Tokef and its dark overtones in the morning, the rumble in our hearts may begin. The eerie atmosphere created underscores the other seriousness of the text itself. Who shall live and who shall die? Who shall see ripe age and who will not? Who shall be secure and who shall be driven? On it goes, asking the most philosophical and practical questions which confront us. Can it truly be that all is predetermined? How do the words of this prayer match up with our own human experience? Is it indeed rational for us to still believe that God fixes our own fates? And so we declare through the Unetana Tokef that this day is holy, set apart, unlike any other, for it makes us confront the camouflage with which we cover our lives and strip it away to its bare essence. This prayer bothers us because it is just so real. Unetana Tokef presents us with the laundry list of ways that people actually do die. And it really needles us because unlike issues of faith and religious mystery, it's the most in-your-face prayer I know. People do die, and more will do so in the year to come. Some will pass away after long and fruitful lives. But we also know that floods will damage, and terrorists will maim, and the unpredictable will take innocent lives, and on and on. Unetana Tokef is a difficult and harsh prayer. It makes us feel like it's all been set up in advance, that we're just walking through the motions as life passes by. We struggle with its message, and some of us get angry when we read it. These words force us to confront reality with no intermediary, no curtain between the audience and the stage. It's right before our eyes. Life can change in a moment, in an instant, in the blink of an eye. And yet I'm not one who believes in an all-powerful manipulator who controls our lives in a way that defies credulity and morality. I actually prefer the poetic translation in the British Reform Mahzor prayer book, which places the emphasis on each of us and not the supernatural. On Rosh Hashanah, we consider how judgment is formed. On Yom Kippur, we consider how judgment is sealed for all who pass away and all who are born, for all who live and all who die. If we take its message to heart, we can't listen to the beginning of the prayer only and not read its conclusion. Let's assume for a minute that things are truly beyond our control. Our lives are rocked by trial and tribulation. We recognize that life is fragile. The question then becomes, how do I respond? Our actions do have consequences, and we are the ones who are responsible for our character. The end of this poetic odyssey gives us the prescription. Uteshuva, utefila, utzedaka, ma'avirin et roa hagazera. We avert the severity of the decree through our deeds of justice, our acts of loving kindness, and words of song and prayer. It may not be in our hands to conquer the randomness of the universe, but our spirits are designed to determine the attitude we need to persevere. We can choose each and every day how to cope with what life brings us. Rabbi Aaron Pankin, the late president of Hebrew Union College, taught that our actions, the teshuvah, tefillah, and tzedakah that we do, help us live in such a way that when we must suffer life's darkest depredations, we will have ways of coping with them. Our actions do not change the ultimate outcome one iota, but they can alter our attitude, bolster our ability to withstand challenges, help us handle unavoidable misfortunes better, and see life's value amidst chaos and dismay. Rabbi Pankin was a pilot who flew small airplanes. And just a few months ago, when he and his instructor were flying, the airplane crashed. The instructor walked away, and Rabbi Pankin was killed. A terrible tragedy indeed. When Edith Eva Egger was 16, she was a prisoner at Auschwitz. It's not the life the Hungarian Olympic gymnastics team member had planned. Joseph Mengele, the horrible Auschwitz physician, chose for Egger to live and sent her parents to die. On that very day, he made her dance the Blue Danube for his entertainment. Although a prisoner, Egger infused that dance with all the joy that dancing always brought her. Mengele gave her a loaf of bread as a reward for her bravura performance. Egger shared the loaf with the other prisoners, and later, a girl who had eaten that bread chose to help Egger, saving her life as a result. Behind barbed wire, an electrified fence, and with brutal Nazis all around, her ability to choose gave Egger the strength to survive. Her mother had taught her, just remember, no one can take away from you what you've put in your mind. After the war, even though she was a therapist, she repressed these memories to spare others the pain of her experience. Racked with guilt for having survived when so many perished, Egger watched her marriage crumble. Another choice confronted her: stay mired in the past, or face it and learn to live in the present. So she returned to Auschwitz to confront her past and grew from that experience to face life in a new way. Just remember, no one can take away from you what you've put in your mind. We can't choose to vanish the dark, but we can choose to kindle the light. In life, there is always a choice. Edith Eva Egger had a streak of resilience that helped her overcome the horrifying cards she was dealt. So did Rabbi Brad Artson, who was diagnosed at 14 of having a terminal, inoperable cancer. He had endured 2 years of terrible and silent pain and hid it from his family. When he revealed what had been going on, they rushed him to a hospital, and thank God one clever dermatologist noticed some bumps on his arm. The doctor determined the cause, and within 2 weeks, he was undergoing chemo and radiation therapy. The assessment that cancer was terminal and inoperable turned out to be false. But the pain and fear he felt were not. Brad wrote, "I would gladly never have confronted that trial, never have suffered that anguish. But I also know that I could not be the rabbi, counselor, husband, father, or friend I am today were it not for the lessons I learned from my own brush with death and pain." If we, like Rabbi Artson, allow our challenges, those beyond our control experiences, to teach us lessons, we can gain an appreciation for people in our lives, gratitude for what still works, and compassion for those in pain. Fate is the ordained path of our lives, the stuff that happens beyond our power to know and to control. Destiny is how we respond to what life offers by the choices we make. One night, the Baal Shem Tov was walking home and bumped into Shloimele, the Wasserschlepper, who was carrying 2 buckets of water. So he asked the water carrier, "How are things with you, Shloimele?" "Not so good," Shloimele said. "At my age, I still have to schlep buckets of water up the hill to support myself." The next day, as the Baal Shem Tov walked to shul for Yom Kippur, he again saw Shloimele. Shloimeh, how are things with you, he asked. Shloimeh responded, Rebbe, I can't complain. If at my age I can still schlep buckets of water up the hill, I'm thankful to God. The Baal Shem Tov smiled. He knew there were two teachings, each of which has their place. We read Unetana Toketh and think about how our fate is determined, but how we turn our fate into destiny can vary each and every day. One summer, a young college student afflicted with a muscular leg paralysis decided to go door to door selling books. He began by visiting the home of the college president. The president's wife told him they didn't need any books. As he turned to leave, she saw him limping. She called out to him and said, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize you had a disability." The young man, who hated pity, indicated he was rather disturbed by her remark. The woman then realized she probably had said the wrong thing and hastened to add, "I didn't intend to imply anything but admiration. But tell me, doesn't being disabled color your life?" The young man answered, "Yes, but thank God I can choose the color." Our main task in life, my friends, is to choose the best color. Amen.
Shana Tova.
Shana Tova.
I'm Bob Israel, and I recently did 23andMe, the DNA test. It pretty much confirmed what I already knew. I'm half Ashkenazim and half Sephardic, an Ashkefard. I also discovered I'm 1.5% Neanderthal. It's true. A Jewish Neanderthal. Who knew? My father's ancestors and my ancestors fled the Spanish Inquisition and settled on the Mediterranean island of Rhodes. In the early 1900s, my grandparents left for America, leaving their own parents behind. In 1944, every Jew on the island was sent off to Auschwitz, and very few survived. I'm named for two of my father's cousins, Reuven and David. I'm Robert Darrell. That's Darrell with 2 R's. Thank you, Mom. My mother's side, all Eastern European, maybe a little Neanderthal. My parents met performing in a Broadway musical. My mother was beautiful, and at 99.5, she still is. She can also sing and dance. When we moved out to Long Island, when I was 4, we joined Temple Emmanuel of East Meadow. My father offered to direct a show to help raise money for the building fund. Guys and Dolls was such a hit, he followed with Pajama Game and Can Can. By the time I was ready for my bar mitzvah, the money was raised and the new chapel was completed. I sang my Haftorah surrounded by the love of my family as snow fell behind the beautiful stained glass windows, much like ours. Sadly, my father didn't make it to my 14th birthday. He was diagnosed with cancer in September and was gone 4 months later. All of us struggled with our grief in different ways. Back then, many people thought you avoided discussing things that were upsetting. The only place I could acknowledge my heartbreak was when I stood to say Kaddish every Saturday morning at Shabbat services. I could speak to God, and I could feel the embrace of my community. When I eventually went off to college, I didn't cut my hair or shave for the next 4 years. It was the 70s. I decided I was a Buddhist, and a Hindu, and a Quaker, which worked for me, not so much for my mother, but it worked for me. When I married a wonderful Jewish girl who lived in the Valley, whose mother was a former Hebrew school teacher, it was clear my Buddhist days were over, and we would raise our children Jewish. We wanted to give them all the things we loved about Judaism, and so we did. Between their Jewish preschool, making challah with grandma, and lighting candles every Shabbat, they were stunned when we told them more people celebrated Christmas than Hanukkah. They're still getting over that. It was several years after our kids' unforgettable bar and bat mitzvah that I became a regular around here. I was asked to lead the Joshua Project. I thought its mission statement of taking our synagogue from good to great was more than worthy of my time. The Joshua Project revived the Havarah movement at Unison. Highlights from our empty nester Havarah have included celebrating Shabbat like a bunch of drunken Hasidim, and a Seder where we each took on the identity of a character from the Passover story, featuring Stan Eisman as Pharaoh Trump and Paul Silverman as the Paschal Lamb, dressed as a Paschal Lamb. Chapter 2 also grew out of the Joshua Project. One of my favorite events was Rhythm and Jews, a Havdalah service, a lecture from Professor Jeff Melvoin, and then a sing-along of songs from the 60s emceed by Bennett Tramer and performed by our very own Juby Brothers, now the Mavens. I didn't plan to stay involved as a board member and lay leader after the Joshua Project, but I have. It turns out what I've gotten back from this synagogue has been much greater than what I've given. When I found out my younger sister was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, I broke down while Rabbi Feinstein counseled me. I prayed at this ark with Rabbi Simons, and when she passed away a year ago at this time, Cantor Shapiro led a beautiful memorial service in our backyard. The year leading up to that, I was part of a group of congregants that focused on wise aging, led by Mara Fine and the Cantor. Our monthly meetings provided us with a spiritual perspective on growing older and our own mortality. If you're wondering why I'm sharing with you my life as a Jew, it's because I'm hoping you'll be reminded of all that's there for us in a thriving synagogue community like ours. The truth is, where Judaism is concerned, we're all on different paths. Some of us have never left the path. Some of us have never found it. Some of us are new to it. And some of us are happy to walk along it just once a year. The invitation inherent in modern Judaism is to find your path. The opportunity available at this synagogue is to deepen the experience of your journey. As Rabbi Feinstein pointed out, Judaism is a resilient faith. When I studied for bar mitzvah, there were 19 boys in my class and one lucky girl. The beauty of Reform Judaism is it's open to change, and it's inclusive. It meets you where you are. I should warn you, now I'm going to segue into the hard sell, the annual appeal. Please know that after this, there'll be no more talk of funding tonight. We'll return to prayer, reflection, and song, but first, my appeal spiel. Our annual commitment isn't enough to cover our budget, and our budget isn't nearly enough to cover all that we could be doing. Despite our synagogue being surrounded by so much abundance, every year we must reduce the scope of our intentions to match the reality of our budget. We do a little with a lot around here, but we could be doing so much more. And here's why it matters. We live at a time where a synagogue can't afford to be good enough, or even very good. It must be exceptional. Earlier this year, the synagogue where I became a bar mitzvah closed its doors. After 63 years, Temple Emmanuel of East Meadow was forced to merge with a larger synagogue. 3 years ago, the Florida synagogue that my sister and her family attended for over 20 years also closed and merged with a much larger synagogue. This is becoming more and more common. We're lucky to have such a committed congregation at University Synagogue. But if we want this community to thrive as one that benefits from an intimate relationship with its clergy, staff, and teachers, we can't take it for granted. Because unless we place importance on teaching the next generation about our heritage and model our core values of fairness and social justice and celebrate the beauty of our tradition, we risk the very future of Judaism. And unless we convey our love of the land and dream of Israel and embrace its importance in the world, we can't expect the next generation to support it in the years ahead. Statistically, most Jews are unaffiliated with any synagogue, and a growing proportion of them are unlikely to raise their kids Jewish. Many experience their Jewish identity through grandma's cooking or maybe an annual Seder. Both are great, but it's not enough to fully appreciate the gift of our Jewish values, culture, and rituals. And I don't care how good grandma's kugel is. Many give very generously to national, international Jewish organizations, but not to the synagogue on the corner. Well, again, if we don't prioritize this, our local synagogue, the center of Jewish learning and faith, it won't always be here. It's as simple as that. This year, we celebrate 75 years as a congregation, a perfect time to reflect on the significance of this community. Because what this community is and what this community becomes is up to all of us. Its future, its fortune, its fate depends on each of you sitting here. Every year we must decide how committed we are to what the synagogue can offer our children and ourselves. If we want it to be exceptional, to offer all that it does and more, it really is up to us. So, if you're fortunate enough to be able to support this congregation more than you already do, tonight would be a good time to display the depth of your conviction and your generosity. Forgive me for interrupting our moving service with this appeal. May this Yom Kippur be a meaningful one, and for those of you who are fasting, may it be an easy fast. And if you need a pen or pencil, just raise your hand. The envelopes are contained in the packet in your prayer book. Thank you.
Good Yontev. I'm Alan Golad, and I have the honor to serve as president of University Synagogue. It is now my privilege to introduce our members and clergy who join us on the Bema this evening. To my left, Doug Rawson, Carol Rawson, Alan Chosen, Jill Chosen, our board secretary, Effie Katz, our student rabbi, Joanne Leuben, Rabbi Feinstein, Cantor Shapiro, Deborah Price, our past president, Roy Weinstein, Julia Weinstein. Julia is the Women of Reform Judaism's Vice President of Programs and Education. Bob Israel, thank you. Gail Israel. Tomorrow morning, the Yom Kippur Tot service for preschoolers through kindergarten will begin at 8:30. Our congregational worship will begin at 10:30. We also offer services and programming at 10:30 for religious school students in grades 1 through 3 and 4 through 6. Kids 7th grade and up are encouraged to join the community here in the sanctuary. Now, tomorrow morning, there is no parking at St. Martin's, but we will have parking there for the afternoon services. And just a reminder that our religious school begins this Sunday afternoon at 4 p.m., immediately followed by our students celebrating the first night of Sukkot. On Saturday evening, September 30th, Jacob Spike Krause will be our musical guest for Simchat Torah. On Saturday evening, October 6th, the University Synagogue Film Society kicks off its second season of monthly screenings with Yitzhak, a charming documentary about violinist Yitzhak Perlman. Cantor Jay will co-host, and live music will be performed by violinist Sam Fisher and our celloist Dennis Carmenza. Please RSVP via the torch. Our Tikkun Olam Committee and our Sisterhood are joining together to actively register voters. Tomorrow morning, there will be a table in the lobby where you and your family can register to vote. They also are presenting Sing Out for Justice, a special Shabbat sing-along service on Friday, October 26th. Now, everything we do can be found in the Torch, our weekly newsletter. Please read it often. As you can see, we have plenty of things going on at University Synagogue. We invite you to participate in events and committees. In your prayer books, you'll find an interest card. Please take a look at it and be actively involved in our community. Now, tomorrow afternoon, we have 3 interesting breakout sessions between services. Yuval Ron will be playing oud as he leads meditation and music. Our student rabbi, Joanne Leuben, will be teaching Of Which 3 Things Does the World Stand? And our Tikkun Olam Committee is sponsoring homelessness in our community, led by representatives from Safe Place for Youth, the St. Joseph Center, and People's Concern. Also, please take a Sova grocery bag as you exit this evening and bring it back filled to the brim with non-perishable food. I want to thank Barry Sykoff, who leads our usher and greeter corps, and thanks to the 42 ushers and greeters who joined us this evening. Susan Rosenstein, our musicians, and our choir, thank you. Your music opens our heart. May you have an easy fast. L'Shana Tova.
Thank you, Alan, and thank you, Bob. We turn, friends, to page 116. Let us rise for Aleinu.
Aleinu leshabeach l'Adon hakol latit gdula liyotzer bereshit shelo asanu ki goyei haratzot velo samanu ki mishpechot ha'adama shelo samichelkeinu kahem וגורלנו ככל המונם ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים
119. May the time not be distant, our God, when all shall turn to you in love, when corruption and evil shall give way to integrity and goodness, when lies and bigotry shall no longer enslave the mind, nor idolatry blind the eye. So may all, created in your image, become one in spirit and one in friendship, forever united in your service. Then shall your dominion be established on earth, and the word of your prophet fulfilled, Adonai will reign forever and ever. Page 121. This holy night concludes with memory. Our last thoughts always are of those we have lost. We miss them especially tonight, yearning for their presence at our side. The service we have shared once was theirs. They spoke and sang the ancient words. They prayed, repented, and yearned for better lives as we have done. Flawed in their deeds, imperfect in their faith, they still drew strength from their tradition as we seek fortitude in ours. What was good and beautiful in their lives once gave us joy and now inspires us to reach higher. The knowledge that they loved us deeply brings comfort to our hearts. So we light candles of remembrance and gratitude, and we speak this timeless truth. Zichronam livracha. Their memory is a blessing now and forever. We pray that their goodness will live on in our lives, planting seeds of kindness and hope for generations yet to come. Page 122. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, ba'alma divra chirute v'yamlich malchute, v'chaye echon v'yom echon, v'chaye dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala v'izman kari v'imru amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mevorach la'alam la'almei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal. Shemei de Kudusha Berichu, Le'ela Mikol Birchata V'Shirata, Tushbechata V'Nechamata, Da'amiran Ba'alma V'Imru Amen. Yehei Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya, V'Chaim Aleinu V'Al Kol Yisrael V'Imru Amen. Oseh Shalom B'Imromav, Hu Ya'aseh Shalom, Aleinu V'Al Kol Yisrael V'Imru Amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn, comfort all who are saddened among us here and wherever they may be, and we say together, Amen. We turn to 127. L'shana tova tikatevu v'techatemu. May you be inscribed and sealed in the book of life for a good, healthy, and sweet year.
Amen.
L'shana